Good afternoon, folks. Robert Chappell, Executive Editor, Madison365, with your daily update for Tuesday, November 23rd. The headline for today really is that the Public Health Madison Dane County has changed its mind about a mask mandate. You might recall on November 1st, the Public Health Madison Dane County announced that it would extend mask mandate to November 27th. And then would not extend it any further. Of course, as always happens, as often happens, things got worse and changed, right? So here in Dane County, things are better than the rest of the state. We're having a 7-day average here in Dane County, 163 new cases per day in the past 7 days. That's like double what it was a couple weeks ago. That's 29.8 per 100,000 residents. That's well ahead of the 52.5 per 100,000 residents on a daily basis for the state of Wisconsin, but still too high for the comfort of Janelle Heinrich and Joe Parisi and Mayor Satya Rose Conway and all those folks. So here's what they're going to do. They're going to extend the mask mandate to January 3rd with an exception. An additional exception. There's already some exceptions for, like, if you're preaching like at church or if you're performing, you don't have to wear a mask during the performance. The new exception that's been added now is if everybody in an enclosed space is fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. So basically what that means is, I think in practical terms, that'll change. That means very little will change, which is probably okay. Like if you go into the store, or like a public business that's indoors and you don't know that everybody around you is vaccinated, you got to wear your mask. If you're in an office and you are sure that your employer has gotten everybody vaccinated, then you can take your mask off at work in the office, right? My sense is, just having lived in Dane County for the past several weeks, a lot of people are doing that already. Like if you have a small business, a small office, you got like 12 people in your office and you know they're all fully vaccinated and you take your mask off and there's no enforcement mechanism. Like, like the cops don't come crashing through your door if you take your mask off at the office. So I kind of think that this will, that exception won't make a huge difference, except in some folks who might just feel more comfortable in an office setting taking off their mask during the day. Now, if you're in a public-facing job, if you're a waiter or a customer service person at a retail outlet, you're going to have to wear a mask, at least until January 3rd. This requirement, I think it's going to be the only requirement still left in the state after this weekend. This comes amid continued, I mentioned this, the Dane County specific numbers, which Dane County, Public Health Madison Dane County are basically just looking at Dane County numbers. That's their job. That's all they're really concerned about. But they're also aware that COVID is spreading like wildfire elsewhere in the state. And people travel, right? This is not, it's kind of a regional, ends up being a regional thing. As you know, people are in close proximity with other people for the most part in their local communities, right? But people travel. And people, especially in Dane County, people come from all over the place to Dane County. Incidentally, related, University of Wisconsin extended its mask mandate to January 15th. Now, UW campus is not governed by Dane County, right? So these two things kind of, they're parallel, but they don't affect each other. So if UW dropped its mask mandate, but Dane County extended its mask mandate, people on campus would not have to wear masks. If the other way around, if Dane County dropped its mask mandate entirely, but UW didn't, you'd still have to wear a mask on campus, indoors. And that's what was going to happen, right? The UW was going to extend its mask mandate to January 15th, even though the Dane County's was going to end this Saturday. Now they're much closer, with Dane County's going until January 3rd, and UW is going to the 15th. And here's why UW gave its an extra few weeks. because you got 40,000 people, many of whom, more than that, 50,000 people, we need to count staff and faculty, they are all going to go away and then come back, right? Which is a significant problem when you're talking about viral infection, right? They're all going to go away for winter break, go away for a month, and then all come back. So when they all come back, they're going to be masked up for at least a couple weeks when they get back. And that's the idea there. Now, let's talk about the state numbers, though, that is kind of driving this whole conversation. The increases today aren't quite as dramatic, but they're still bad. The 7-day average of new cases right now, 3,148. That was 3,120 yesterday. So that's not a huge jump, but it is an increase. That includes 4,264 new cases just today. I'm not sure. This doesn't tell me new cases per day. This well. Yeah, we haven't seen 4,000 new cases in a day in a long time, since December. That's the first time this year we've been over 4,000 new cases in a day, and that pushes our daily average up just a little bit. The 7-day test rate, positive test rate, which is another important indicator, is now 11.3%. It was 11. What did I say yesterday? 11. Was it 11.3 yesterday? It was. I think when I reported to you yesterday, it was 11.3. But I also told you that they were like retroactively revising upward. They always do this, where they'll report to you on a day that it's 11.3% for today, but the most recent 3 or 4 days is always preliminary data, right? This is not deceptive at all. This is not like really a problem. It's just that one of the dangers of obsessively looking at this data every day, like I do, and like you do, because you're watching me obsessively over this data every day, is that the data is always kind of preliminary, and it's always there's always more data coming in, which can change any given day's data. So as more tests it's not tests that are done, it's the more data is entered into the database, and they get like every test from Tuesday gets properly assigned to Tuesday, and so sometimes this 7-day test rate gets adjusted up or down retroactively a couple of days later. So yesterday's 11.3 that I reported, now we're saying 11.9. It was 11.9% yesterday, 7-day positive test rate. So today being 11.3 is actually better. I don't think it's 11.3 today. I think tomorrow we'll come back, and today's positive test rate, which the data we have right now says 11.3, but there's apparently some more data that's going to come in and probably put it over 12, which is really bad. We need that to be under 3.0. There was a time last year, over a year ago, like last summer, like August 2020, when schools were starting up again, and the state of New York made a policy that if the 7-day positive test rate rises above 3.0, we got to close all the schools. Like that's how bad it is. That if 3.0 is the point at which we say this is time to shut everything down, close the school, shut it down. That's at 3.3% or more. You got to shut it down. We're at 12 now. It's not good, which means we need more testing and we need fewer cases. There's just no way around that. Hospitalizations also today are up 1,250. That's the highest we've seen this year. That's 106 more than a week ago. So a little bit less, about an 8% increase in the past week. ICU patients, however, is down a bit. It's down by a lot, actually. It's 23 lower than it was even yesterday. 321 currently ICU, which is pretty good news. The 7-day death rate also up today, 16 per day on the death count. 39 new deaths yesterday. And that's calculated to only include deaths for which the date of death was in the past 30 days. So those are 39 new recent deaths, 2 new probable deaths, which I think get counted in here. I don't like to count those. But if you count those, it's 41 people who were reported yesterday to have died of COVID. But we know those deaths happened in the past 30 days. Those didn't all happen yesterday. Those are just the data we're getting in. We got the data in yesterday. We got the confirmation yesterday that these people who died over the past month died of COVID. 41 of them. Well, 39 for sure and 2 probably. That puts our total confirmed death count at 8,900. Which means probably within the next 7 days we'll pass 9,000. No, certainly that will continue to rise. Even if we turn the corner and start to go down on cases, that death average will continue to rise because the 4,000 new cases today, we will see that reflected in deaths a month from now. And if we keep on our roughly 1% fatality rate, that could be 40 deaths in one day a month from now. Right, and we could see a 7-day average in the 30s. For context, the leading cause of death in Wisconsin, as everywhere else in the world, heart disease. Heart disease accounts for about 31 deaths per day in Wisconsin. So 16 deaths per day is considerably less than that. 40 deaths per day is considerably more. Right? So I hope that helps. Yes. Yes. Jean Marie asks, death rate in Wisconsin, over 200 people in November. Yes, there were definitely more than 200 deaths in the month of November. It'll probably be closer to 300 in the month of December. That's just that's the way it is. And I will say also the one piece of good news is that vaccines continue to speed up. We are now at 55.9% fully vaccinated, 58.7% have gotten at least one dose. We're over, let me make sure I get this right. I want to say we're over 20,000. Yeah, 24,335 doses per day in the past 7 days. So considerably more than it was even just like a month ago. Like in August, September, we were under 10,000 a day. I think that means either some people are just finally getting around to it, and lots of people are getting their kids vaccinated, which is good. I think that's the only way we're going to get unmasked kids in schools, which everybody wants. Kids in schools having a normal school experience, and the only way that's going to happen is to get kids vaccinated. I will say, just anecdotally, at my kids' school here in Mount Horeb, I believe there are more cases. It's not a huge critical number, but they seem to be more. The school nursing staff seem to be a bit more vigilant right now. They're asking more questions about symptoms if your kid is sick. They're asking kids to have a negative test before they come back if they're sick. So I think it's a significant issue in schools right now, and getting kids vaccinated is the way to end that. If we want to keep kids in school and give kids a normal, healthy, fun school experience, getting them vaccinated, that's the only thing to do. All right, I got some other good news for you. We don't have to talk about COVID all day long. Got some other good, interesting, fun news for you on the other side of the break. I'll be back right after this. Do not scroll away.
This is a great opportunity and a platform for communities of color to speak about themselves and just talk about their own issues.
It's important for journalism and media to uplift the voices of people of color and BIPOC people because historically they've been underrepresented and not given a voice. And I can now give space to those voices through my writing.
We have increased our coverage area. We've increased the platforms that we've been reporting on. There's now podcasts, there's interactive maps.
Journalism is the gateway for information, and information pertaining to COVID, the pandemic, and particularly the Black Lives Matter movement that's been happening this year. It is so important to spread information around to people who otherwise would not have access to it.
There's so often, over and over again, where we will cover something very important and we are the only media outlet covering it.
I truly believe Madison365 takes the unconventional route in Madison and in Wisconsin as a whole. Like, the stories we tell are not being told at other publications.
You should donate and support Madison365 because this is one of the only and the biggest organization that is really covering communities of color in Wisconsin.
I think we have a very niche area here and a very strong community that supports us and backs us up and reads us and loves us. And so I really think people should be contributing to that and to the work that we continue to do.
Also, you can read my writing, which is pretty good. Can I say that?
All right, thanks for sticking with us. I put a link to the FAM, to our new monthly subscriber program, in the comments. So if you want to support nonprofit journalism, so we can keep it free for everybody else, hit that link and jump in. All right, a couple things. First of all, it is halftime at the Maui Invitational. I've got the Badger game on my other screen over here. And the Badgers, the Wisconsin Badgers, who just lost to Providence the other day, are leading the number 12 Houston Cougars 40-20 at the half. So that's kind of exciting. All right, a couple other news items for you from the Madison area, especially the Urban League of Greater Madison already has some significant funding commitments for its new Black Business Hub, between 80,000 square foot, 81,000 square foot, 4-story building that will be located at the corner of Park Street and Hughes Place in South Madison as a hub, as an incubator for Black-owned businesses and Black entrepreneurs. Really going to be a really exciting economic driver for the south side of Madison. It's got county and city money already committed, and Pleasant Rowland, who's a philanthropist here in the Madison area, just put in $1 million to try to start to get that off the ground. And that story on Madison365.org right now. Also in the news today, Dane County Time Bank, which launched in 2005 as a time-sharing thing. I know it was 2005 because I covered it when it launched for Madison Magazine back in the day. It's a organization where you can basically trade time and services rather than money. Right. So if I'm a graphic designer, I'll make your business a logo and I'll bank my 3 hours in the time bank. And then a lawn care company can use my 3 hours and come do my yard. It's like a swap thing. They've rebranded now as Flywheel Skillshare. It's called Flywheel because the flywheel, I don't know anything about cars. I know very little. I know how to change the tires, about it. But the flywheel is a piece of the engine that gives all the other pieces of the engine more power. And that's kind of what they're going for here, is that this, as a collaborative organization, members of this Skillshare organization are more than the sum of the parts. They can all give each other more power, right? And also, I spoke to Dr. Jamina Brown and Lori Merkus, who are the co-executive directors. You see them there on the right of that photo. And their idea is that they just want it to feel less transactional. They wanted the word bank out of the name, basically. So they've rebranded that. I've got that story up there as well on Madison365.org. And finally today, last night, the Madison Metropolitan School District voted unanimously 7-0 to rename James Madison Memorial High School after this young lady, Vel Phillips, who was, you might know, she was the first of a lot of things. She's the first Black woman to graduate from the UW Law School. She's the first Black woman judge in the state of Wisconsin. She was the first Black person of either gender elected to statewide office when she was elected Secretary of State in 1978. She was the first Black person to be governor for a day. Because according to the Wisconsin Constitution, if the governor is out of the state, then the lieutenant governor is acting governor. And if they're both out of state, it's the Secretary of State that is acting governor. And both the lieutenant governor and governor were out of state and hurried back when they realized they had left a Black woman in charge. That's a story that Val Phillips used to like to tell. So James Madison Memorial High School, this is a movement started by a student or a recent graduate. I can't remember, honestly. Back like in 2017, we reported on it when this student was first talking about it, that James Madison owned enslaved people. And there were some students who didn't think that their school should venerate that. So it's been talked about since then, and now it's done. It's going to be Val Phillips Memorial High School. I think, for purposes, day-to-day purposes, everybody's still going to call it Memorial, right? But instead of JMM, it'll be VPM. And that change will officially take effect at the beginning of the 2022-23 school year. So next academic year is when that'll take effect. So that is all the news I have for you today. I will be back tomorrow with the latest. I'll most likely take Thursday and Friday off just for the holiday. But I will be back tomorrow with more news for you, including the COVID situation and whatever else happens between now and then. Until then, have a wonderful evening, and we will talk to you soon.
This is 365 Media.